Tonight we travel far from the noise of the modern world. There are no engines, no electric lights, no distant hum of traffic, only the slow breathing of the countryside. It is late summer in a small medieval village somewhere in the 13th century. The sun is setting behind low rolling hills, washing the fields in warm gold. Long shadows stretch across narrow dirt paths. A thin veil of smoke rises from cottage chimneys, drifting gently into the evening sky. The village is small, perhaps 30 wooden houses built from oak beams and packed with wattle and daub. Their roofs are thatched, thick with straw, uneven and weathered. Chickens wander lazily between doorways. A dog lies near the well in the center of the village square, barely lifting its head. The day has been long. Most of the villagers are farmers. They wake before sunrise and work until the light fades. Wheat fields surround the settlement, bending softly in the evening breeze. A few small vegetable gardens sit behind the cottages. Onions, cabbage, beans, and herbs used for simple meals. There is no rush here. A man named Thomas, not unusual for the time, leans on a wooden fence at the edge of his field. His hands are rough from years of labor. Dirt clings to his boots. He watches the sky slowly shift from gold to pale blue. He is not thinking of ambition. He is not thinking of distant lands. He is thinking of tomorrow's weather. Weather shapes everything. A storm at the wrong time can destroy months of effort. Too little rain means thin harvests. Too much rain rots the roots beneath the soil. Medieval life is quiet, but it is fragile. The church bell rings softly in the distance. The church is the tallest structure in the village, built of rough gray stone, simple and solid. Its bell marks the rhythm of life: morning prayer, midday pause, evening rest. Most villagers cannot read. Books are rare and precious. Stories are spoken, repeated, remembered. Knowledge travels by voice and memory, not paper. As the light fades further, candles begin to glow behind small shuttered windows. Inside one cottage, a woman named Agnes stirs a pot over an open hearth. The fire crackles softly. The stew is simple: barley, carrots, perhaps a small piece of salted pork saved from last winter. The room smells of smoke and earth. The walls are darkened by years of soot. A single wooden table stands in the center. 3 stools, a straw mattress in the corner. Life is compact, modest, sufficient. There is no glass in the windows, only shutters to keep out wind and cold. Outside, children chase each other near the well, their laughter softer now as mothers call them inside. The air cools quickly once the sun disappears. Medieval nights are darker than anything we experience today. Without artificial light, the world transforms after sunset. The sky fills with stars, thousands of them, sharp and bright. The Milky Way stretches like spilled silver across the darkness. For villagers, the stars are not decoration. They are guidance, mystery, and sometimes warning. Constellations mark seasons. The moon dictates certain tasks. Time itself feels tied to the heavens. As the final light disappears, the village grows quiet. Doors close. Wooden bars slide into place. Animals are secured in small sheds. The dog near the well finally rises and disappears into shadow. Thomas leaves his field and walks the narrow path back home. Gravel crunches beneath his boots. The scent of damp soil rises as the night air settles. He passes the blacksmith's workshop, silent now. During the day it is filled with the ringing of hammer against iron, horseshoes, nails, hinges, simple tools, fire and sparks and sweat. But now the forge is dark. Further along stands the mill near the stream. The wooden wheel turns slowly in the fading current. Grain will be brought there tomorrow. Wheat becomes flour. Flour becomes bread. Bread becomes survival. Everything is connected. Inside his cottage, Thomas sits heavily on a stool. Agnes serves the stew into wooden bowls. They eat slowly without speaking much. Conversation is simple. The field, the neighbor's cow, the condition of the roof. Life is repetitive, predictable, steady. There are no clocks ticking on walls. Time is measured by light, season, and bell. After supper, Thomas steps outside one last time. He looks up at the sky. The air is cool against his skin. In the far distance, an owl calls. This is how most nights pass. No drama, no spectacle, just quiet endurance. And as the village settles fully into darkness, straw mattresses welcome tired bodies. The fire fades to glowing embers. The world shrinks to the small circle of each home. Beyond the village, forests stretch deep and silent. Roads are dangerous at night. Travel stops with the sun. The medieval world sleeps early, and under the wide sky with only stars for witness, the small village rests, unaware of the centuries yet to come. The village sleeps, or at least most of it does. Night in the medieval world is not silent in the way we imagine. It has its own language, soft, patient, and steady. The wind moves gently through the thatched roofs. Wood creaks as beams cool in the evening air. Somewhere, a cow shifts in its stall, hooves pressing into straw. The faint murmur of the nearby stream continues without pause, turning the mill wheel even in darkness. Inside the cottages, sleep comes quickly. Without artificial light, the body follows the rhythm of the sun. Most villagers lie down not long after dusk. Their sleep is deep, but not always continuous. Historians believe many medieval people experienced what we now call segmented sleep. A first sleep, then a quiet waking period in the middle of the night, followed by a second sleep before dawn. And so, in one small cottage, Agnes opens her eyes. The fire has nearly faded. Only a dim orange glow remains in the hearth. Thomas sleeps beside her, breathing slowly. The air is cool now. She pulls a wool blanket higher around her shoulders and listens. This waking hour is not unusual. Sometimes people pray during this quiet time. Sometimes they reflect. Sometimes they simply sit in stillness, aware of the vast darkness beyond their wooden walls. Agnes rises carefully, stepping across the packed earth floor. She adds a small piece of wood to the fire. It catches slowly, light flickering against the low ceiling. Outside, clouds drift across the moon. The medieval night is filled with belief. Many villagers see darkness as a time when unseen forces move more freely. Folklore speaks of wandering spirits, forest creatures, protective charms hung above doors. Not all fear is dramatic. It is woven quietly into daily life, like thread in cloth. A small carved cross hangs near the doorway. Protection matters. Beyond the cottages at the edge of the village, a lone figure walks slowly along the dirt path. It is the night watchman. He carries a wooden staff and a small lantern shielded from the wind. His task is simple. Ensure no fire spreads, no livestock escapes, no stranger enters unnoticed. In a world built mostly from wood and straw, fire is the greatest threat. He pauses near the blacksmith's workshop, listening. Satisfied, he continues. The night air feels different away from the warmth of homes. Cooler, wider. The stars above seem almost overwhelming. In the distance, beyond the fields, stands a small monastery. It is not large. Perhaps a dozen monks live there. But it is steady, built of stone rather than timber. While the village sleeps, the monastery follows a different rhythm. A bell rings softly in the darkness. Inside, candlelight glows against thick walls. The monks rise for night prayer, known as matins. Their footsteps echo gently across stone floors. They gather in the chapel, voices low and calm, chanting words that have been repeated for centuries. Their world is structured by prayer. Midnight, dawn, mid-morning, midday, evening. While farmers measure time by harvest, monks measure it by devotion. The chanting flows softly into the night air, carried faintly toward the sleeping village. Back in her cottage, Agnes hears nothing of it. She has returned to bed. The second sleep comes easily now. Outside, the watchman completes his slow circle and rests near the well, lantern dimmed. Hours pass. The moon lowers. In the darkest moment before dawn, the village is completely still. Even the animals seem to rest more deeply. The world feels suspended, as if holding its breath. Then slowly, change begins. It is subtle at first, a faint thinning of darkness along the eastern horizon. The stars lose their sharpness. The air shifts, carrying the quiet promise of morning. The rooster senses it before the people do. A sudden call pierces the stillness. Another answers from across the square. Inside the cottages, bodies stir. Blankets move. Sleep loosens its hold. Thomas opens his eyes to a pale gray light pressing softly against the shutters. He inhales deeply. The day will begin again, much like the last. There is comfort in that repetition. He rises, pulls on his boots, and steps outside. The grass is damp with dew. Mist rests lightly over the fields, blurring the distant tree line. Smoke will soon rise again from chimneys. The blacksmith will relight his forge. The mill will grind grain. Children will carry water from the well. The monastery bell will ring for morning prayer. Life resumes not with urgency, but with quiet acceptance. There are no grand announcements, no sudden shifts, only the steady continuation of what has always been. The medieval village does not dream of progress. It simply endures, and as the first true light of morning spreads across the fields, warming the thatched roofs and wooden beams, another day begins, almost identical to the one before it. For the people here, this rhythm is not dull, it is stability. Fully over the village, the mist that fully over the village, the mist that hovered above the fields begins to dissolve as sunlight spreads across the landscape. The thatched roofs glow softly under the pale warmth. Dew fades from the grass, leaving behind the earthy scent of damp soil. The day begins without urgency. Thomas walks once more toward his field, carrying a simple wooden tool over his shoulder. The path beneath his boots is the same path he has walked hundreds of times. It curves gently past the stream, past the mill, past the oak tree that stands slightly tilted from years of wind. Nothing has changed, and yet everything continues. This is the quiet truth of medieval life. It moves forward not in leaps, but in slow, almost invisible turns. In the center of the village, a few women gather near the well. They lower wooden buckets carefully into the cool water below. The rope creaks softly as it slides against stone. Conversation drifts between them, low voices discussing weather, harvest, a neighbor's illness, the condition of a roof beam. Information spreads here not through parchment or proclamation, but through presence. The blacksmith opens his workshop. Soon the steady rhythm of hammer against iron begins again. Each strike echoes faintly across the square. Sparks rise briefly, then vanish. Tools are repaired. horseshoes reshaped, hinges reforged. Metal bends slowly under heat and pressure, much like life itself. Near the church, the priest steps outside and surveys the village. His role is spiritual but also practical. He records births, deaths, marriages. He listens to confessions. He offers counsel. In a world with little written documentation, memory and faith are pillars of order. A small group of children runs past him, barefoot and energetic, chasing a wooden hoop along the dirt path. Their laughter rises into the air, bright and fleeting. For them, the world feels large. For their parents, it feels contained. At the edge of the fields, Thomas pauses and looks back toward the village. From here, it appears almost fragile, a cluster of timber and straw against vast open land. Forest stretches beyond. Hills rise gently in the distance. The sky above is immense. The medieval world is both small and immense at once. Most villagers will never travel more than a few miles from where they were born. Roads are dangerous. Travel is slow. News from distant kingdoms may take months to arrive. Yet within this limited radius, life feels complete. The mill wheel continues turning beside the stream. Grain becomes flour. Flour becomes bread. Bread sustains the village. The rhythm is unbroken. Midday arrives gradually. The church bell rings again, marking the hour. Work pauses briefly. People wipe sweat from their brows. They sit beneath trees or beside fences, sharing simple meals of bread and cheese. There is no clock to consult. The sun itself is the measure. Over the centuries, historians will describe medieval life as harsh, and often it was. Disease could sweep through without warning. Winters could be unforgiving. Harvests could fail. But between those hardships were long stretches of quiet continuity. Days like this. Days when nothing dramatic occurs. Days when the greatest concern is whether the clouds gathering on the horizon will bring gentle rain or heavy storm. In the monastery beyond the fields, monks copy manuscripts carefully by hand. Ink dries slowly on parchment. Each letter is deliberate. Each page requires patience. Knowledge moves slowly through this world. Nothing is instant. Nothing is rushed. Back in the village, Agnes kneads dough inside her cottage. Her hands move with practiced certainty. Flour dust floats briefly in the sunlight that slips through a narrow opening in the shutters. The air smells of yeast and wood smoke. Outside, the watchman from the night before now repairs a section of fence. His lantern hangs unused beside the doorway. The memory of darkness feels distant beneath the bright sky. Time continues its steady progression. Afternoon fades toward evening once more. Shadows grow long again across the fields. The sky begins its slow transition from blue to gold. Birds circle above the rooftops before settling into trees. Thomas gathers his tools and walks home. The village prepares once more for night. Animals are secured. Fires are lit. Doors are closed. The repetition is not accidental. It is survival. Generations before have followed this same pattern. Generations after will do the same until change, slowly and inevitably, reshapes the world. But for now, in this quiet 13th century village, nothing extraordinary demands attention. The stars will return tonight. The owl will call again. The monastery bell will ring in darkness. And tomorrow, the cycle will begin once more. The medieval world does not hurry. It turns slowly, like the mill wheel beside the stream, steady, patient, and enduring. And as evening light softens the rooftops and fades gently into shadow, the small village settles once more into calm. No spectacle, no grand announcement, only the quiet turning of another ordinary day in a distant century.